Hey, mahal everyone! Welcome back again to the Broadway Saiyan YouTube channel. I am your host 40 and we are back with another video on Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, the global version of Opera Omnia. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a discussion regarding the next upcoming character, which is going to be Kuja. I did do my preparation video for the event that's going to be going live very soon. However, I wanted to do a deeper dive into the character itself because a lot of folks are wondering whether this character is going to be good or not and how this character is going to be stacking up compared to the rest of the cast, especially some of the more used cast in the global version of the game. So Kuja, good or not? Let's go ahead and move forward. So, what does Kuja bring to us global players? Unsurpassed, unrivaled, pure magical damage, tied with Cryle for being the fastest mage in the game in global. So he is the fastest mage in the global, tied with Cryle, and his magical damage, or his damage overall, as you're going to see as we move forward with this video, is definitely unsurpassed and unrivaled once he hits the global version of the game. Flexibility to either attack one target or multiple targets with his two abilities, Ring Holy and Ultima. So his abilities have a mechanic to where they can either all hit one enemy if there's only one target, or if there's multiple enemies, it'll disperse and hit everybody randomly. So he has that flexibility to either be a single target DPS or an AoE DPS. So very, very good with that flexibility. He is the second character to make use of the stack mechanic with his unique buff called Soul Divider. So his Soul Divider unique buff, what it does is that it goes up to 4 stacks, and for each stack he's granted Max Brave, and the Max Brave increases depending on the stack, and then he's also grants himself Brave Regen. The most similar character currently we have in global is Ace, because Ace does have a card mechanic where his attacks get stronger depending on the amount of cards that he has. So Kuja is most similar to that, but he does make use of a stack mechanic with his unique buff. And he has the ability to play well with both buffers and debuffers, because his natural self buffs do not override some of the top support in the game, such as Saz, Aiko, and Ramza. So his Soul Divider, again, like I mentioned, grants him Max Brave dependent on the stack, and it also grants him a Brave Regen. And because it is a unique buff, any type of buffs that also affect that will stack with it. And then his Ultima 9 with its weapon passive gives him 2 generic buffs, which is small Max Brave up, which is up to 20%, and then it also gives him magical attack up 20% for 5 turns. And those buffs generally do not contradict or conflict with buffs such as from like Saz or Aiko and Ramza. So Kuja is definitely a team player. He can fit in almost any team with support and debuff. Unlike somebody like Kain, for example. Kain has some incredible self-buffs, but the problem is they're too incredible to the point where another buffer will just essentially fall off with their buffs because theirs is not as good as Kain's. So Kuja has that ability to be able to play well with both buffers and debuffers, making him very flexible on the team. Now, Kuja's damage output versus others, and the characters that I chose with their weapon passes for both Kuja and the character that I'm comparing him to are generally the DPS characters that I see a lot of in the global version of the game. I chose 5 of them, and you guys are going to see the ones who I am going to be comparing Kuja's ability to. Now, Kuja's Ultima 9 versus Lightning's Flourish of Steel, and I chose his Ultima 9 primarily because it is his Brave plus HP attack, so it hits both Brave and HP, and I'm going to be doing the same for the characters that I'm comparing him to. So, Kuja's Ultima 9, before he has 4 stacks, is a 9 hit, each hit dealing 20%, has a 20% damage modifier for a total of 180. This is taking into account that he has his 35 CP weapon. That's already huge enough as itself. Now, when he has 4 stacks, we all know that the attack repeats, so Ultima 9 repeats, so essentially he's going to do that again, and now it's going to be at a total of 360%, which is massive. Let's take a look at Lightning's Flourish of Steel with her 35 CP passive. So, first hit is 30%, second hit is 30%, with the last hit being at 70% for a total of 130%. So the obvious winner for this is definitely going to be Kuja. The only thing that Lightning really has on him is, Lightning likes to turn steal a lot, especially because her abilities have that break mechanic where if she breaks them, she essentially will go back to the turn bar. So that's probably what she only has over him, but overall damage, Kuja wins this by a huge landslide. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the next character here. So the next character is going to be Kuja's Ultima 9 versus Squall's Renzo Kukin. So again, we know what Kuja's is, 180% pre-Soul Divider 4 stack, and then 360% post-Soul Divider 4 stack. Now, Squall's Renzo Kukin, when his Brave is over 250% of his initial Brave, he's going to be doing 3 hits, each at 33.3% each, so the rough equivalent total damage is going to be at 100%. Now, if his Brave is less than 250% of his initial Brave, he's going to be doing 6 hits instead for a grand total of 200%. So the winner, again, is going to be Kuja. Kuja's pre-Soul Divider 4-stack is only underneath Squall's Renzo Kukin at its best by 20%, which is not that much of a difference. And then when you add his 4-stack, it's a landslide victory again, damage output-wise for Kuja. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to our next character comparison, which is going to be Kuja's Ultima 9 versus Papalymo's Astral Fire. One of our favorite mages. He is definitely one of the more popular DPS characters currently right now in Global. So again, we know Kuja's damage output, 180%, 360%. Now let's take a look at Papalymo's Astral Fire, 140%. Now he does get those buffs to his max Brave and attack, but still, 140%. And the winner, again, by a landslide with this is Kuja. And let's see, now we are going to go to our next one, which is Kuja's Ultima 9 versus Kane's Gungnir. So Kane is our newest character to hit us on the global version of the game, and I did a video on him, a whole detailed guide and comparison of his damage, and we know what kind of damage he can do, but let's take a look at how it compares to Kuja. So again, 180%, 360%. Kane's Gungnir is actually pretty up there. It's at 190% for that one-hit Brave plus HP attack, which is a range attack. But again, the winner is going to be Kuja. Kuja's just killing it right now. And you're going to see right now with the next comparison, which is going to be Kuja's Ultima 9 versus Vaughn's White World versus Luminescence follow-up. So Vaughn is notorious right now for dealing a lot of damage because after you use either one of his abilities twice, they do upgrade with a follow-up. Now, I did choose White World because it is the stronger of the abilities, but let's see how it compares. So Kuja's Ultima 9, again, 180%, pre-Soul Divider 4-stack, and then Kuja's Ultima 9 post-Soul Divider 4-stack is at 360%. Now, Vaughn's White Whirl plus Luminescence follow-up. So the White Whirl with a 35 CP passive is a 37.5% times 4, which is 150%, plus the Luminescence, which is a 36% times 5 equals 180%, for a grand total of 330%. And again, Kuja wins. This one is a bit closer, but Kuja still wins overall, especially with that 4-stack being at 360%. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about with you guys is Kuja's pros and cons. So I mentioned earlier, some of his cons are highest damage output in the game currently with his weapon passives, flexibility to either hit one target or multiple targets. He is of the S tier rank speed because he is the fastest mage tied with Cryle. Self buffs, again, do not override top tier buffers in Global. And he is great for farming crystal stages with his AoE Brave plus HP attack. So now we have an option to be able to deal Brave damage and HP damage on all enemies. So he's going to be great for speed farming those crystal stages or whatever you guys farm. Orbs, crystals, whatever kind of mats that you use for leveling up your weapons and things like that. Now, what are his cons? So Kuja is not perfect. So Kuja is a purely magic-based damage is diminished when used against enemies who resist magic-based attacks or holy-based attacks. So if you're up against enemies that resist that, Kuja's usefulness is going to be diminished because he won't be doing as much damage, and he is definitely highly reliant on that 4-stack of Soul Divider to be used at maximum efficiency. Now, if you have both of his weapons, his Soul Divider stack that's granted to him after using either Ring Holy or Ultima 9 is 3. But essentially, you still need to use one of his abilities again to get that full 4-stack to be able to use the better version of either one of his abilities. So he essentially needs 2 turns to set up. So in a sense, he's kind of like Vaughn, where Vaughn does need 2 turns to set up. But with Kuja, you could do it with either one of his abilities, whereas with Vaughn, you have to stick to one ability before you actually get the better version of that ability. But those are going to be some of the cons for using Kuja. Alright, so some final thoughts and tips before Kuja comes out. So Kuja's early release is definitely a blessing to us global players because this gives us more time to enjoy his destructive capabilities before level 60 Awakening happens. When he came out in JP, the level 60 Awakening came out exactly 1 month and 1 day after Kuja's release. So Kuja came out in JP last year on October 20th. And then on November 21st, level 60 came out. So that means JP players only had literally just a month to enjoy Kuja's destructive capabilities and his OPness. Whereas us global players, because we're getting him very, very soon, we have a little over so we have a little under 2 months to be able to enjoy Kuja's destructive capabilities and OPness. This is considering that, you know, they don't all of a sudden, global doesn't all of a sudden get level 60 awakening super early. But yeah, because we're getting him early, we get to enjoy him a little bit more compared to when JP first got him. Now, Kuja does need as much attack as possible because his natural attack stat is very low, so you definitely want to farm up those attack plus 108 artifact passes for him. And then finally, he is a future investment for later on, as once he gets his level 60 awakening and his EX weapon, he's going to be reclaiming that throne as one of the top DPS in the game. And what I'm going to do for you guys is, on the video description as well as the pinned comments for this video, I'm going to be linking to you guys the video that I did to prepare you guys for with the preparations and details for the upcoming Kuja event. That one gives you a little bit of a gameplay too on how he plays, so that way you guys get to see what I'm talking about in regards to his abilities, so you guys get a visual, because this is more of a discussion-based video. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully you guys are excited for Kuja again. I surely am. We are getting another villain character, which is going to be very cool, that he is joining the cast, and we're going to have somebody that's crazy powerful joining our cast, which is going to be a lot more fun, especially for tackling some of the harder difficulty quests, such as the level 90 lost chapters, or even some future heretic event quests that we're going to be getting. Alright guys, once again, I am 40 the Broadway Saiyan. Stay tuned for the next video, and mahal everyone.